Here's the deal. The magic moment was when I looked at my 12 schmendricks, as the phrase goes, and they were so disheartened over what was going on. They were disheartened. They couldn't close rich people. I could, Danny could. Before that, we were closing average moms and pops. And I realized what was happening. And I realized in this one moment that I had a certain way of speaking that I had taught to Danny, because Danny was a natural salesman. It was a way of speaking that was allowing me to immediately take control of the conversation. At the heart of all influence, once you learn to control the linguistic encounter, you will be shocked at how easy it is to influence. Now, I'm not saying that when you control the encounter, you're doing the talking. That's not what I mean. In fact, it's the opposite. When you're in control, you're asking very smart questions, and it's the prospect that's doing the talking. You're gathering intelligence. But in those first few seconds, when you open up your mouth, you got 4 seconds. And if in those first 4 seconds, that's a brain fart, right? In those first 4 seconds, you don't establish 3 things. Let me tell you what they are. You got 4 seconds of a conversation. 4 seconds. You got to establish, number 1, that you are sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. It's got to come out right away. Number 2, that you're enthusiastic as hell. Enthusiastic as hell. And number 3, and I said it before, and I'm going to say it 10 more times, and I'll make you say it out loud. You got to be perceived as an expert in your field. As what? A what? You want to be perceived as an expert. Say the word expert. What's the word? Expert. You gotta be perceived as an expert. You got 4 seconds to be perceived sharp, on the ball, enthusiastic. It must be good. Nothing sells like enthusiasm. And don't say, oh, people, I'm not talking about, oh my God, I'm not that enthusiasm. Like, it's so great. No, I'm talking about bottled enthusiasm. Enthusiasm that's just below the surface. It's a certain way of talking with a bit of urgency in your voice that says, wow, that shit must be good. It's not yelling and flailing your arms about like a moron. So I don't mean that. Sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, an expert in your field. We want to do business with experts. You get hurt, you got to go to a doctor. Who do you want to go to? The guy who graduated yesterday from medical school, or the guy who's been doing it for 20 years? Which one? 20 years. Which one? An expert. Bingo. You go get a haircut before an important occasion. Who are you going to? The guy who just graduated from beauty school, or the professional haircutter? Which one? The professional. Experts. Authority figures. It's a sad thing. Our parents, my mother, your mom, your dad, our parents told us, don't judge books by their covers. Who heard that? They did, and so do we. We do. Human beings judge books by their covers. We make snap decisions. We see someone, we size them up, we rip them apart, put them back together, and boom, either they're, on the ball and perceived the right way, an authority figure, an expert, or they're a dullard, like, Sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, an expert in your field. You got 4 seconds to do it. And how can you do it in 4 seconds? Well, it's not the words. I mean, think about it. What words could you really say in 4 seconds? Hey, John, listen, I'm sharp as a tack. They'd say, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's nuts. There are no words. There's no magic words. They were the right words to say, but how you really allow that to come across. How that comes across is 2 ways. And the first is through something called tonality. Your tonality. There are certain tones that we use. Now, in human communication, in matters of influence, there are 10 that we use again and again and again. And you watch me do it all night long, whether it's where I talk with certainty, or I talk with sincerity, Or I say, well, it's a pretty reasonable thing to do in the reasonable man tone. There's all these certain tones, and when you use them at the right time, see, right now you use them by accident. You're like, when you talk, if you feel certain, you talk certain. You can actually use these tone on purpose, and you become incredibly persuasive just by that alone. Because when you use the right tonality, while you're speaking, and this is true of everybody, as I speak, you will narrate against me. You'll say, what the fuck is this guy? Is that true? And I agree. But if I speak without tonality, you'll start to narrate. If I use tonality, you'll zero in and say, what does he really mean by that? You start to hook into my tonality, and you give me control. It gives me control when I speak. If I spoke like this, you'd be like, oh my, you'd be out. You'd be talking in your own head. But when I put the tonality on, it forces you to unconsciously consider, what do I really mean? What's he really trying to say? We try to give meaning to the tonality. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes. It happens through tonality, and when you're in person, through body language. Certain ways we move our body, how we stand, how we shake hands, our eye contact. Not just how we move our body, but how we listen to other people. Bill Clinton, President Clinton, was the best. He would lie to us. We loved him anyway, because for that second when we saw him, he'd be like, I feel your pain. He was like great with getting into what's called what? Boom. Say the word. What's the word? Louder. What's the word? At the essence of all influence, you take control of the conversation, and then you must get into rapport. You must get into rapport with the person. And how do you do that? Well, there's two things that must come across. Let me tell you what they are. Rapport is based on two core elements. Number one, the prospect in his heart of hearts, unconsciously, he must be saying, you care. That you care about him. That there's something in your tone, an empathetic, sympathetic tone, your body language, your facial expressions, and your words, because let's talk about communication as a whole. There's three types. You have tonality, and you have body language, which by the way, watch I'll go over here. Let me just give you the division here. Tonality and body language make up about 90%. This is 45% tonality, 45% body language, and then 10% is the words. And there's different numbers based on which study you read, but they're all around the same. Tonality and body language is the bulk of communication. The words are easy. On a silver platter, you hand someone the words, they can memorize them. They're very simple language patterns. But what really influences, what people don't get, is that tonality and, like, see how loud my voice? It's important. This is really, tonality and body language. Look at my hands. The way it's ingrained in who I am at this point in my life. But when you just start doing this, what I do is that you make what's unconscious in you, as soon as it becomes conscious to you, you start to implement. And this is the unconscious part of the straight line. It's really, really powerful. So you have tonality, you have body language, and the words. And we hear about this thing about charisma. Oh, Jordan's got charisma. He's got massive charisma. Oh, she doesn't. And people take a whack. Oh, I don't have charisma. That's a duck-like mentality. Charisma is an entirely learnable skill. You want to know what it is? How you do it? Charisma is made up of three things. Effective tonality. It's number one. Two, appropriate body language. Number two. Number three, not saying stupid shit. That's the third part, which could be the hardest part of all for a salesman, especially once they start getting further down the line, meaning as the sale goes on, which is why we do pay a lot of attention to the words that we say. We want to make sure that we understand what our language patterns are, how we accomplish things we need to accomplish in a sales or a negotiation. We don't want to say stupid things, right? Number one, they must think we care. And we should care, by the way, because you're crazy if you don't want. You're not trying to hurt someone. Number two is, I'm just like you. That on some level, they just feel there's a commonality that I'm just like you. They feel a connection.